Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this video, as you can tell by the title, I am going more in depth with my experience with NALCAP and being an auxiliar de conversación in Spain. From my last video that I made, kind of sharing like the overview of NALCAP and like the benefits it offers you as someone who wants to travel and wants to see the world but needs an alternative way to do that, then I made that in the other video. But I really didn't go into depth about like the housing, making friends, and stuff like that. So in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Before we do, make sure to follow me on my social medias. Usernames are down below in the description box, and let's get into it. Starting off with experience with placement. So I got this question about, did you get your first placement whenever you apply? Because whenever you apply, you do get the option to list your top three, okay? Top three regions. And for me, my first choice was Valencia, my second choice was Galicia, and then the third one, I can't really remember what I picked. It was a random one because in my head I was like, if I don't get at least my first two, I probably won't do the program because I did not want to be placed in a region where nothing is happening, you know? And I know that says a lot because I do stay in a small town right now. I stay like an hour outside of the city, but that was a choice I made and I could go more into that later. But all that to say, yes, I did get my first choice, but it's not guaranteed that you will get your first choice. And over the past year or two, one region Andalusia is no longer taking Oxys, so that is no longer an option. And so I know like the major cities that people want to go to, or like the placements they want to have, is like Madrid and Barcelona and stuff like that. And so this really depending on how many applications the program gets, and also when you apply and the placement number you get, that really determines whether you get first, second, or third choice that you put on your application. My best advice for that is to apply as soon as you can. As soon as those applications open, apply. My first year I did get placed in Valencia, and so I am a second year renewal. And so for my second year, I requested the same school and it was approved. And a lot of different factors probably went into that. And I know a lot of people watching this video are probably first year, so this does not pertain to you, but just in case you're a second year and like you're wondering, I did ask and requested the same school, and so I really think that I had a higher chance of approval because one, my school is in a small pueblo, it's not in the city, and so I feel like if it was in the city, I probably would have had like a 50-50 chance, maybe lower, of getting that, because being in the city, located in the city, is everyone wants that. It's ideal. But for me, I didn't mind living in a smaller town. I don't live in the town where I teach. I live about 25-30 minutes outside of that town, and I usually carpool with another teacher who lives in the town that I live in, and I got really lucky with that because not everyone has that option available to them. I do have the train and bus available to me, but the town I teach in is not well connected with the train and the bus services, so it takes me a while to get home. So right now, especially, the train is shut down for part of like the railroad track connecting to my school, and so I have to take a bus from the town I teach in to another town, and then I have to get off the bus and then take the train for the remainder of the car ride. Yeah. But most days I do carpool there and back with the teachers, so I don't have to go through that every single day. But it is a journey. So it really just depends on what you're willing to do. Like, you really don't have a lot of jurisdiction over what kind of school you get, where you get placed. I mean, you do also get the option on whether like you want a small school, like a primary school, a secondary school, you know, like high school and stuff like that. But even that's not guaranteed because I requested to be in a high school because personally for me, I don't like working with kids. Okay, listen, I'm good with kids. I could get through it, but if I had the choice, I do not want to work with kids all day, every day. When I tell you, this is a side note, a side tangent, I have never gotten this sick in my life. Ever since working with kids, I get sick at least 3 times a year. That's never happened to me. And so take that as you will, okay? Getting placed is really a gamble. Try to apply as soon as you can and see what happens. Okay, so the next topic I got questions on was roommates. My first year, I found my roommates on GroupMe. I found the group me via Instagram because I remember seeing a comment on the NALCAP page of someone making a group chat for Valencia placements. And at that time, I knew I got placed in Valencia. And so I joined the group, and then we ended up transferring that group to group me. And in that group me, my roommate from last year texted me. And so that's how we kind of met and hit it off. And before we even made it to Spain, we were already trying to look for apartments and stuff like that, which I will get into in a second. But I know that other Oxes also recommend like Facebook groups and also looking at WhatsApp groups and stuff like that to find roommates, because I really feel there's really no other way around finding a roommate other than group chats. Because if you wait until you get here, you will have a harder chance to find someone, because I feel like about time everyone gets here, everyone already kind of knows who they're in a room with, or like kind of knows what their living situation is, like if they want to live alone or not. So I feel like the best way to find a roommate for this program is through a group chat. My second year, I met potential roommates that I didn't end up rooming with just because of a lot of like logistics and stuff happening. But if that would have went through and we would have had everything else aligned, we would have roomed together. I'm saying this just to say that all the roommates that I have found or had the potential to room with, I found in group chats. Just a side note, it is a gamble as well when you're living with people, because last year my living situation didn't pan out in the way that I thought it would, because my roommates did end up leaving before the program was even over with. So I was stuck with the remainder of the rent and stuff like that. And so just keep that in mind whenever you're looking for roommates. Like, really try to inquire about how long are you planning to stay in the program? Like, what are we gonna do if, you decide to leave early? Who's gonna be stuck with the rent? Maybe let's look into places where you could rent and buy a room. So if someone decides to leave the program early, the rent is not stuck on you. Like, you just have to focus on paying for your own room. And so now let's get into housing, because now I'm talking about housing. Oh, before we do, I do want to talk about how many roommates is enough, because I know that in major cities, like a lot of people have at least 2 to 3 roommates. But I found that in smaller cities and pueblos, like the one I live in, honestly, you could get by if you budget well, living by yourself. You could get by if you really wanted to. But I get like a lot of people want to live with someone because, of course, this is a new country. You want something kind of familiar, so you want to live with someone who speaks English and someone you could kind of easily create a bond with and start hanging out with. And so I feel like if you live in a smaller pueblo, you could get by with 1 or 2 roommates, because the rent is cheaper than living in the city, which I prefer, honestly. Okay, so now moving on to housing. My housing situation was unique in the way that my first roommate, who I connected with over GroupMe, she connected both of us with another Ox who was already in Spain, in the town that we were going to move to. And so luckily this Ox was generous enough to go look at different apartments and houses for us before we even got here. And they would send us videos and pictures and updates and different landlords as we were still in the US trying to figure this out. I got really lucky in the fact that through this, me and my roommate were able to find a house to live in that fit our budget and our needs. And so when we arrived, the Ox that was already here, we sent them our money and we signed contracts and stuff. Well, we said that we're going to sign the contract once we got to Spain, but we sent our deposit and everything. We really put a lot of trust in this Ox, because they were like, yeah, like I know this landlord, you could trust her. Because me and my roommate were like, we want to sign a contract first before we put down a deposit, which I highly recommend, because there are some scams out there. But we really put trust in this Ox, and they were like, no, it's okay, like I trust her, like just send the deposit. And we're like, okay. And so luckily when we got here, the house was here, it was ready for us, we signed the contract, and we literally moved in the day after we arrived, because we ended up staying in the city when we flew in, because we didn't want to take the hour train ride to the town I stay in, because we stay an hour outside the city. And so we stayed in like a hotel, and then the next morning we took the train to the town that we live in now, and the house was ready. And so we got to move in that day. But Listen, I'm not sure how lucky people get like that, so don't think that that's very common, because I really don't think that's very common to have such an effortless experience like that. Because I know that even my first year, people were still scrambling looking for apartments when they got here. Like, they had to stay in Airbnbs for like weeks as they looked for apartments. And even this year, I remember reading the group chat and people had to stay in Airbnbs, hotels, and were struggling to find roommates and stuff like that. And so I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this just to get ahead of the game. Okay, so start looking for roommates right now and try your best to solidify something, because I know that as placements start going out, it's hard to solidify something because like you don't know where people are placed at yet. People are still waiting, and then some people may drop out. So just try to get an idea of who you want to room with, where people are getting placed, and try to get on that as soon as you can. Okay, just to get a little specific with how much I had to pay and everything like that for housing. So I live in a small pueblo, like I said, and the house that I stayed in with my roommate. At first, it was just me and one other roommate, and it was a 3-story house. Okay, so we had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and the rent was 700 euros per month minus utilities. And so me and her split that between us. And then later we ended up adding another roommate, and so it was split 3 ways. And so that's kind of a general idea of like how much it costs in my town. But I know that it's more expensive. Like it runs like 1,000 to 1,200, maybe 300 euros, maybe more, 1,500 euros in the city. So that's why I said you may need more roommates. So that kind of wraps up the housing and stuff like that and my experience with that. But if I left anything out, just let me know down below and I'll just answer it directly, or just DM me on Instagram. Okay, so moving on to making friends. Okay, so my experience is definitely going to be different from everyone else's, because in the beginning, I mainly just hung out with my roommate. You know, because in the beginning, we really hit it off, we really clicked. And so we basically did everything together. And there were also oxes in the town that we were living in that I'm still living in. And we had a group chat. So like, of course, if an ox planned something like, hey, let's go to the bar tonight, blah, blah, blah. Occasionally me and my roommate will go and hang out with the other oxes, but I can only speak for myself. I am very introverted. And so in the beginning, I was very proactive when it came to like meeting the other oxes and stuff like that. But I feel like once I got into my routine, I kind of went in my shell a bit. That doesn't mean I didn't get the house, okay? Because during this time, I was still working on freelance writing and building my freelance practice and stuff like that. And like I was taking boxing and stuff. And so I was still trying to make friends, but it really wasn't my priority, because I feel like I have my roommate. And so I don't know if it's the Scorpio in me too. Like once I have a friend, I'm like, okay, I'm locked in, I'm good. I don't need a big group of friends. And that isn't to say I didn't hang out with other oxes as well from time to time. It just wasn't as frequent as with my roommate. And I also had a friend who introduced me to one of his friends who I hung out with occasionally in Valencia. And she was someone that really helped me get settled in, because she's from Spain. And so anytime I had a question, I was able to ask her, and she was able to help me and give me advice and tips and stuff like that. And so I feel like having my roommate and also having someone also from Spain just really anchored me, and it made me feel like, you know, I wasn't alone in the country. Because even the girl who was from here, she speaks English, and so at that time my Spanish was not the best, so that was a bonus for me. And so everyone's experience with making friends is going to be different depending on where you're placed and how social you are. But I think that I know for a lot of people, this is their first time probably leaving home and having to like really make friends. I feel like it's one of those things you just have to jump into the deep end and see how it is going to play out, because it's only so much preparation you could do when it comes to making friends, you know? Like you can meet people through group chats, but it's really not until you get in person to see if like you vibe. And so what I've noticed and what I've taken note of when it comes to people who make friends quickly here and, you know, who kind of gel well in a group is to really go out when people are planning stuff. Like, hey, we're going out to dinner tonight. Hey, we're going to the bar tonight. Hey, we're planning this trip. Like really put yourself out there and try to do those things as much as you can. So overall, my experience was okay with making friends. You know, this was not my first rodeo when it came to going abroad and having to make new friends. And so maybe the way I'm talking about it and the way I'm viewing it right now, it's like, you know, it's a casual thing. Like, it's gonna happen. But I know a lot of people, it's hard to make friends. I would just say, don't let that stop you from doing this program. Like, if that's a fear, like, oh, I may not meet new friends, just know that even like at your school, I've noticed that even the teachers are so friendly here. Like, well, I can only speak for my school, but even like the teachers are friendly, and like they will try to help you feel welcome as you find your footing in Spain. And then as you go, even if you don't find Oxes, okay, here's another tip. If you do not find friends within the Ox group, go explore other options. Like, find things you could do that aligns with your interests and your hobbies here. For example, I started boxing and I met people in that class. Recently, I started ceramics class and I met people in that class. Okay, so, and they're not a part of the Ox group. They don't even know what Oxes are, to be honest with you. They don't even know what this program is. And so I feel like there's plenty of places and plenty of opportunities to make friends here. It's just how you like to make friends and what you're most comfortable with. Now let's get into payment and like monthly budget. Okay, so I live in Valencia. We get paid 1,000 euros a month, and I live in a small pueblo. And so my first year, my rent was like 350 plus utilities. And so I had plenty of money to kind of spend on my interests and trips and stuff like that. So like I said, like I mentioned, I was spending money on boxing. I took a trip with some friends from London, and like, you know, so really just depends on what region you get placed in, because that varies. Like, I know some regions only get paid like $800, 800 euros, and you have to just budget accordingly. And so I feel like with my interests and how frequently I travel, the monthly stipend I get is enough for me. Rarely do I have to dip into my US bank account to pay for trips or groceries or whatever, interest or whatever, because the 1,000 euros a month is enough for the lifestyle I am living here. You know, like, I don't take trips every month like some Oxes, because for me, and you'll see if you stay on this channel, I am trying to stay in Spain longer than a few years. You know, I'm trying to make a home here. So I know that if everything goes according to plan, I'll have time to take those trips. That isn't to say I haven't taken trips since being here on my Ox salary, because I have, and it could work. But it really just depends. You have to get creative. If you are that type of Ox that wants to really utilize your 8 months here, because you know after those 8 months you may not be renewing, you may not come back for a while, like, you really want to utilize those 8 months. So you just have to get creative, because I know a lot of Oxes who take trips every second they could get, and they make it work. And so, speaking on lifestyle a bit, especially living in a pueblo, I don't go to the city frequently. I go enough to satisfy my needs. Like, if I want to go and walk around the city because I'm tired of the small town life, I go and make that hour trip. Or if I want a new restaurant, because I am vegan and there's really only 2 vegan restaurants in this town, so I go to Valencia if I want new food. But other than that, I usually just stay in a small town. Like, I love it. It reminds me of Gilmore Girls, especially during the fall. And so I go to school, I work, I come home, I do my freelance writing, I do my little hobbies on the side, go to ceramics class. I'm about to start boxing again, go to the gym. That's it. And then every once in a while, take a trip. Whenever I talk about myself, sometimes I think it's so boring. And I'm like, should I be doing more? But I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing things on my terms. Wink, wink. Go watch my series. Plug. Going back to payment as well. For Valencia specifically, when it comes to payment and being paid on time, I haven't had major issues when it came to being paid on time. I know that the region itself, like with past Oxes, like they're like, oh my God, like the payment's always late, all this other stuff. For me, my payment's only been late once. And that was around summer of last year. My last payment was hella late. But other than that, the payment has been okay. Like, I have not experienced in any major delays. From what I've heard this year, the payments have been okay. Especially in the group chat, no one has had any major complaints about the payment. Okay, so after filming the video, I got more questions on my last video that I wanted to answer. So another question that I got was, do you get more money the second year? No, you do not. The stipend stays the same whether you're first year, second year, third year, fourth year, whatever. So my first year I got paid 1,000 euros a month, and as a second year I get paid the same. And other Oxes who are third, fourth years, they get paid €1,000. So you do not get paid more, unfortunately. And what exactly does your day look like in class? Okay, so I know this ranges because I just grabbed coffee with some other Oxes, and really depending on how your school is set up, you will have a different experience regarding whether it's like very organized and efficient or very kind of, free flowing and not so organized. So for me, I work in a primary school. So, and it's in a small pueblo. So it's very different from what I grew up knowing when it comes to like how things are structured in a elementary school. And so there's not a lot of teachers, about 25, I would say, compared to what I was used to over like 50 plus teachers in one school teaching like first, second, third grade or whatever. And so for me, my day typically looks like showing up at school around 8:30 because I carpool with another teacher, but school starts at 9. So I'm not there that long before school starts. Typically school starts at 9 a.m. I'm not sure about high schools, but primary schools is usually at 9. And so every day I have 45-minute classes. So Mondays I have about 3 to 4 45-minute classes with a breakfast break in between, but really that's when I eat my lunch. And then you also have blocks where you could prep material. So this is where, you get with your teachers and you find out what they are teaching. And if they ask you like, hey, can you come up with a game for this certain lesson, whatever, this is the time to do it. Because for me, I do not like taking work home when I don't need to. So I try to utilize these blocks to plan my material. And usually it's not very strenuous, okay? Don't worry. It's not something that you have to take hours to complete. I usually just look up fun, easy games like on Google, or like try to come up with things, like creative things that the students want to do related to like what they're interested in. So like, for example, I didn't come up with this, but another teacher came up with it, but I was the one that played it with the kids. So you know how like the little 6-7 thing is going on. So basically we created a game around that where we had like a bunch of different questions, like how many continents are there? 6 or 7. And like just like random facts that either the answer was 6 or 7. Another game that I like to do with my younger students is like freestance, but I also incorporate vocabulary. So whenever we're playing the music and the music stops, I get to choose someone to unfreeze and then hold up a flashcard, and they have to tell me the flashcards. So just like stuff like that, you could prep in your material block. Sometimes I don't even have material to prep. The teachers don't ask me every week to prep something. It's every once in a while, but your school may be different. So every day is not packed with classes. So Thursdays, I only have like 2 classes, and then I take the train back home. Usually in the classrooms, the main teacher is supposed to give the lesson, and then you're supposed to come in and assist where they need you. So maybe they may want you to read like instructions so they can hear like a native speaker read instructions, and then the teacher will explain in Spanish the instructions again, so the students are used to hearing a native speaker read instructions or read certain things. And so stuff like that. Or like if you, like I said, if you come up with games, obviously you lead that in the classroom with the teacher there to help explain instructions and like guide the students with you. Other than that, my day is pretty chill. I show up in the classroom, I do what I need to do, go to the next class, do what I need to do, and then at the end of the day, I go home. Another question I got was, how did you decide your location preferences? Why did you choose Valencia? I wasn't really strict with my location preference. All I knew, I had like a list going in, like, kind of like what I wanted to experience as far as like weather and stuff like that. And so going in, I ended up asking one of my friends who actually stays in the north of Spain. We met in college, and I was telling him I was doing the program, and I was like, these are kind of like the regions I was thinking about. And so we were just kind of going back and forth, like, okay, so what activities do you want to do? Like, do you want to go to the beach? Do you want to hike? Do you want to do these things in your free time? Like, so basically what I like to do in my free time kind of guided my decision, because I knew I wanted to be near a beach and have access to that and have access to water sports and like nice weather. So that is what really guided my decision. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking to really dive into historical sites? Are you really wanting to go to the beach often or hike often or whatever? So for me, I based it off of the things I like to do in my free time. My second choice was Galicia, and that's more up north, and there's beaches there, but it's very different from Valencia, where it's like well connected when it comes to the train. Well, I might be wrong, I'm not sure, but from what I was told, it's more car dependent than Valencia. And so I didn't want to have to depend on getting Ubers or getting a friend to drive me anywhere. I want to be well connected with the trains and the buses and stuff like that. I think I covered like the basis of the questions that I got. If I didn't, let me know down below in the comments and I will happily answer them. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for requesting this video, and I hope that I brought value to you. And like I said, if you have any more questions, let me know down below. And good luck on your journey with applying to NALCAP. It completely changed my life, and I recommend it to anyone who is trying to get out of their country and don't really have a bunch of money to do it, but they really want to do it. I'm like, do NALCAP, okay? Like, it has its headaches, it has its bumps, but trust me, it's worth it once you get over those hurdles. So good luck on your journey. I'm here if you need anything. Make sure to stay inspired, and Ali loves you.